Well, I'm from a
right?
Kajikempo background.
Right.
You know, Al DeCasco's my instructor, and he Emperado's protege way back when.
Right.
Oh.
And Al came from the islands to the mainland fresh off the boat. When I met him, he was wiry. He was ready to go, all pumped up. And his training was really, I can't call it violent. Well, I guess I can, but brutal.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way he knew. That's the way they trained.
Full
way
contact.
back then. Yeah, totally full contact. And I remember training with Al. I would think he was going to bring a mat or something out. Oh, that's not real life. Real life is hitting the floor, hitting the concrete, and so we didn't have the privilege of mats and things like that. We trained kind of like this concrete.
The concrete
Wow.
floor.
But of course, today's classes you have to provide.
You have to have everything.
You have
yeah.
to have, it's
and it's not even just the schools; it's the states or the cities that it's done.
exactly everything
have
has changed.
Oh yeah, so
And
many people get sued after a while. The state kicks in and says, we have to stop these practices.
Yes.
There's too much money being.
Yeah, but that's this day and age, and I'm happy that I was of the era that worked its way up. I could do what I wanted. I didn't have to comply
Right.
with all these rules and regulations that are now out there for schools of today.
Wow.
But, you know, it's like I say, there's a lot of backyard training. You don't have to
Right.
belong to a
Yeah.
school to be able to still have that kind of training. And if you get people that want to still train like that, of which there's many of them out there,
Oh yes.
you can
yeah.
still provide that. You know, you can still offer it, but not in a legal business where, you know, we have a course for 6 weeks, or we have a corporate, or we have a lunch special.
Yeah.
you know.
$3.99 and you get a black belt after 12 weeks.
Yes.
Well, I
And they
never
throw in the
really-
gi.
You know, black belt to me is, I don't know. It's just, it's the knowledge. Somebody can
Yeah.
take your belt away, but they can't take your knowledge away.
Right.
That's why I was called a white belt master.
Right.
Was because of this very purpose. You know, when my belt was removed,
Right.
and we talked about this.
Right. Yes.
And then I started writing a book.
now,
oh,
what is the title of the book? Because I've been looking
The
for
book
it.
that I started writing was called White Belt Mastered, because at this particular time I was training a lot of students that went into tournaments, and they're all winning, win, and so they would say they'd never seen this style before, or these type
Right.
forms before, nothing that they'd seen before. And they'd say, well, who's your trainer? And they'd say, that lady over there, you know, they were quiet. That's our seafood, that's our teacher. They'd come over and ask me about it and this and that. And I'd always make a joke and say, not too bad for a white belt master. And so that kind of stuck with me. And so I started putting together the book called The White Belt Master.
So, did you ever regain your title again?
Your black belt.
Your ranking?
After many years, gosh, I think maybe could have been over 15 years went by. I was a white belt, and maybe a long time. And my
Wow.
son, Mark and Craig,
Uh-huh.
went to Daddy Al, and said, this has gone on long enough. It didn't matter to me.
You've
But they
moved
said-
past it so much.
It's not
Mom
even a big
has her
deal
own
anymore.
style. She has all these skirts, and she's only a white belt.
Your style. What's the name of your style?
Well, Mark DeCascos, which I'm sure maybe some of you know, some of you don't know, but he's on the Iron Chef.
Right.
The crazy little guy says, and the secret ingredient is, and he flips. And
I like how she
and
said,
he's
crazy
made,
little
Crazy
guy.
little guy.
He's made all these amazing movies. He's done Hawaii Five-O, his
Right.
last movie.
Yes.
Keanu Reeves.
John Wick.
John Wick 3.
Mhm.
And he played Zero.
Yes.
Right.
And, you know, parts of that movie, especially the crazy part at the end where Mark, you know, is doing all his moving over and,
Right.
you know, that really is Mark. That's Mark's personality.
Really?
Wow.
Mark,
Oh.
he's really he's you get Mark and Craig together
Uh-huh.
and they each egg that one, that one. Let's do this to mom. Let's that. But Mark has made, he's an amazing. Now here's another example. Mark. Everybody knows Mark. Well, I'm not going to say Mark's age. Maybe he doesn't talk about his age. But Mark is amazing. If you see him, you see his
I watched it
athletic ability.
one night in Bangkok. I watched it
didn't
just
see
last
that yet.
month. It was really good.
But he's
Yeah.
fit. I mean, we talk about
Oh yes.
keeping fit and train. And my other son, Craig, he's material, photo material for magazines.
Right.
He is just
Really?
really
And-
amazing.
I have to just assume that all came from you.
No, well, they did have a mother that always pushed. And,
Always push.
She's so
and
modest.
when I was training, especially with Mark, it didn't matter, Mark or Craig, if they were my son. Didn't
Right.
matter. In class, they were just another student.
Oh wow.
And so many times. Now, Craig, he won't cry, but Mark would get little tears in his eyes because I knew Craig didn't want to do this. I pushed Craig to a certain point. But Mark, I knew that one day he was going to have a big future in the arts. He just didn't know it.
He didn't
yet.
know it.
And so I pushed and I pulled and I drilled where it was never good enough. He'd say,
Wow.
do I have a six-pack yet, Mommy? No, you don't even have one pack. And he said, is this good yet? No, that wouldn't even get you in the door, And I was that
Wow.
attitude. Because I never wanted them to think they were good enough. I wanted them to always think they needed to be better.
So
Because
you weren't a
can't
stage
get
mom, were you?
comfortable.
Were you a stage mom?
No.
Pardon me?
Were you a stage
No.
mom? But you did push them outside of and let them
I
know.
pushed them to do what I knew what their ability could be.
That's
Yes, I
awesome.
did.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there like stage moms really are.
Right, yeah.
I mean, at tournaments, I was coaching and
Right.
coaching Craig, coaching Mark. I was there. If Mark, I remember in Italy, Mark was tied up for a match, and I think it was team competition, and it was his fight. If he didn't get the point, the team was going to lose. And I did give him a pretty powerful speech while we were down on our knee as to why he is not going to lose. And poor little guy. He's just a little guy. He
How old was he at that time?
Probably in the teens.
Teens.
Teenager.
Wow.
And so, but the pep talk did generate the energy he needed because it was really a hard battle to go in there and win, and he
Right.
did win. So yes, I
point.
know when to push and when to pull.
Okay.
Right.
And like when Craig told me, this trophy is for you, my last tournament, it says, first place is for you. No more. I'm not going in anymore. And I knew that's the final word.
So Craig never built a love for the art. He just
He
did
did
what
because-
Mom told
Craig
you.
was always a businessman and interested in money, and always Craig always says, "There's no money in martial arts, Mom. I'm not settling for a school."
Has he talked to Mark about that? Because Mark is doing pretty good.
Well, Mark is in the movie world.
Yeah, that's right.
But
So he's
as far as them carrying on Daddy's
Style.
style of opening doors, they both said, no, not for us. You have to be cut out to be a martial
Right.
art owner and teacher, wanted, and if you have high expectations to retire on a big fun, and I probably can count the ones I know that have been able to make a huge living at it and retire. And for me, I was always in it. I was one that was never, the security was never the thing for me. It was the adventure. And as I said before, because growing up I couldn't do anything.
Right.
So a life for me was one big
Adventure after another.
And it wasn't, I didn't care if I didn't make $1 million. I cared, I'm going to Germany. Oh, how excited. I make the most of it. So life for me is an adventure.
Where else have you gone? Where else have you traveled?
Well, I've traveled all around Europe when I lived there, but I lived in the West Indies. And
What happened in the West Indies? How was that?
oh, the West Indies was really an eye-opener for me because of the fact when I went. Do you know why I went there?
No, what
You don't know
happened?
why I went there.
No,
Okay.
why did you go there?
I used to. Chuck Norris hired me to teach his wife at that time, Diane Norris.
Okay.
And
yeah.
he wanted me to train her here in the States. And so I trained her in LA, trained her. And every now and then, they had a big, beautiful home right on the ocean in the West Indies.
Ooh,
And
wow.
she would travel, they would travel. And so, well, she was going to be gone for a month, and she asked me, can you come and train me for a month? I can't go train you for a month. I have all these clients.
Yeah.
I never forget what she said to me. She said, Malia, go home, figure out how much money you're going to lose if you come with me for 1 month to the island. And I said, really? She said, really. So I went home and I
Wow.
figured out how much money, this is how much I would lose. This is why I don't go to you. She wrote me out a check to pay for that month so I wouldn't lose the money from my clients here.
That's
And then my
crazy.
clients understood. They said, let's go have fun. But after a while, Diane decided she wanted to live there permanently. And so I eventually went there back and forth. And both Chuck and Diane said, before you make that final decision to live in this island, here's the keys to the house. You're going to stay here by yourself without Diane here to be the guide. You're going to live here alone and see if you really want to live on this island. Because
Wow.
first of all,
Wow.
I suddenly knew what it was like to the tables reversed. I'm on a black island and I'm a white woman.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so every time I went into a restaurant, instead of seeing all these white faces, I see all these black faces. And I stood out like a lily. Here's this white little...
Yeah.
Sore thumb.
And I would stand there. Those are times when I was insecure and scared, but I never projected it. I
Right.
kept smiling. I said, hi, how are you? I said, I don't know if you remember me. Yeah, we remember you. And so little by little, I began to mingle. And it was really funny. I had a Jeep in the island. And so most of the people in the island walk. They walk. They don't have cars. There was one really major road and a lot of dirt roads. And so how people would get from one end of the valley to the other, they would hitch rides. So me coming
Oh.
from LA, we drive a little bit fast here and
Right.
there. And so I would see people, hitching, I'll pick you up. They'd hop in my car. Well, I'd say, where are you going? They'd say, the post office. That's a long way. Okay. They would only go a little way. Out here. Like, gosh.
Right.
I was
You're
scared.
scared, huh?
And I kept saying, but we didn't come to the post office yet. They said, no, here.
we're good, we're good.
And so I finally asked, why does everybody want to get out of my car? They said, you scared them, Aaliyah. You drive too fast. And I said, oh, okay.
Wow,
So I started
that's funny.
slowing down. But I loved the island, and I became one of them. I never
Wow.
was prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced. That's why
Now, is that island where you opened up your restaurant?
I opened up the restaurant because of the fact that I was teaching fitness.
Mhm.
Right.
Started with Diane,
Okay.
and then I thought, well, this is not enough work for me. I got to keep busy. So I started working for hotels. I remember I taught she's probably passed now, but from the Gucci family, the grandmother, the
Oh, wow.
oldest Gucci lady.
Wow.
She
That's
came down all in gold lame. But I taught a lot of really interesting people in the island. But even that, after a while, wasn't enough. And I needed more. And that was when, we eat out a lot. And I would see, well, I can't get a good enchilada or taco or this or that. There needs to be a Mexican restaurant here. But I don't cook. But I had good recipes. And I thought, this can't be so hard. I'm going to find the location, and then I'm going to find a chef, and then I'm going to teach her how to follow these instructions, my mother's recipes. I'm going
Wow.
to show her pictures, how they should look, and we're going to open up. But first of all, I had to buy the restaurant. I have to tell you how interesting that was. I opened up a restaurant with no money. I thought, how am I going to open up this restaurant? I don't have that kind of money. But what I did is I found it was a shell like this, a big shell right by the ocean, opened. It was a building, Spanish arches, everything. I think maybe homeless may have lived there at one
Oh,
time.
wow.
Wow.
Anyhow, I found the place and I said, this is the place I want. I'm going to make it beautiful. Out from nothing to something. And they said, oh, you can't have this. The man who owns this building lives in St. Martin. His name is Captain. In order to have this building, you have to find him. So I got up one Sunday morning, took the ferry, went over to St. Martin. I walked the streets of Anguilla, up and down, from 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening. Every nook and I'd say, do you know a man named Captain? Nope. Do you know a man? Nope. Nobody
This
knew
is
Captain.
crazy.
And I wouldn't stop. I went down alleys I probably shouldn't have been going down. But I wanted this building. And so finally I said, well, if I don't catch this ferry back to my island, I'm going to be stuck here overnight.
Right.
So I went down one more road, and there was this sitting on a plastic bucket with a knife in his hand, and he was whittling, is that what
Right.
it's called?
Yeah, carving
Piece
wood.
of wood.
Yeah.
He was just sitting there, and he put his head up, and I said, hi, and I said, what are you doing? And he told me, and I said, well, I might as well ask you. I've asked all of St. Martin, do you know a man named Captain? And he said, who wants to know? I said, me, Malia. And he said, what do you want him for? And I explained, well, I want to open this restaurant. He has a great building. And he says, I'm Captain. And it was him.
Wow.
The
The very last thing
Last
I talked
the
to.
one you're like, oh, I'm
What are
done.
the
I'm going back.
chances?
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
And so he said, yes, I could have it. So we did the paperwork. And I took a restaurant that was nothing. And I remember I built my own furniture because they were doing construction in the islands, and there was a lot of scraps. You know how Mexican tables, legs, chairs,
Right.
pillows, painted them, cactuses everywhere, painted the floor, made it really beautiful. And I put shutters on the outside, swinging doors. I really did a cool job. And one time there was a magazine going along all the islands, stopping to see what was the best inexpensive restaurants. And I won. My decor, everything.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
It was good. And so that was how it came to be. But, you know, persistence. You should never give up if you're
Wow.
trying to.
That is the true meaning of persistence.
I am really don't give up.
I've noticed you went through an entire island, the
did.
entire population, to find one guy
Yeah.
on a bucket.
On a bucket,
I found it.
whittling
And I
sticks.
mean, here I'm a little white girl. And,
Right.
You know, and
That's crazy.
Oh
at that
my
time.
goodness.
But like I said, I had no fear of these people because I don't see why I should. I didn't have any fear of anybody.
Right. You
Nobody
acknowledge the
ever.
fact, yeah.
It
You-
had
you-
nothing to do with martial arts. It
Yeah.
had to do with it's
Just the way
my
you are,
aura.
your aura,
I don't
right.
project that I'm frightened. You know, sometimes
Now,
fear.
I know of a little story that you had mentioned earlier when we went out, and you had said that the one time, because you're not a cook, you're not really a cook, right?
No.
But you said the one time that you had to cook in your own restaurant.
Oh,
Tell me
was
that
a
horror story.
disaster. Well, when we opened up the restaurant,
Right.
the chef, she said, "Oh, Malia," she was a local girl. We'll do 7 days a week. You know, we're new. You sure you need a day off? No, I don't need a day off. So we probably were open maybe 5 to 6 months, and we really became successful. She says, Malia, I need a day off. You're going to have to cook. She didn't realize I really couldn't cook. Maybe I could cook for a few people, but
Right.
you know,
A
she
full
said,
restaurant.
Malia, we'll do Thursday night. That's the slow night. You can do that. Well, she made the mistake of telling people she was taking Thursday night off, and Malia's going to cook. Oh, the owner's cooking, and so
So they all think you know how to cook because you're the owner.
So what she did for me, we prepped all the food, and she put pictures up there. This is how I serve it. This is how you do it. But what was overwhelming was not so much cooking the food; it was the orders kept coming, and
The
I
speed.
couldn't. I felt like Lucy.
Mm.
On
the conveyor belt, on the conveyor belt, yeah.
Somebody,
Help! The order. What? I haven't got this order. Wait! What? And all these orders were piled up. So
Oh, my God.
I said, okay, I got to go out and explain to the
Right.
clientele. So I went out, got in the middle of the floor, and I said, attention, attention! And I said, you guys, I really am not the cook. I don't know how to cook for so many people. It's going to take a little time. But I said, what we can do to keep you happy is each table, who knows how to serve drinks? You can be the bartender at table 1, table 2. Everybody had their own bartender. So they got up, they went behind the bar, mixed their drinks. But nobody screwed me out of alcohol. Everybody was
Wow.
really
That's
honest.
amazing.
And then that became one of my everybody used to talk about it. Oh, you can be your own bartender. At
So you
that
kept that
restaurant."
going after that? You kept it?
I kept that.
That's crazy.
So
And
every
how
time-
long were you on the island?
Huh?
How long were you on the
Oh,
island?
over 5 or 6, or I was there. But anyhow, if say that you two came in and you wanted drinks, and I'll say, which one of you is the bartender? You say, I know pretty good about it. And I'd say, okay, here's the tab. Keep track of what you drink and how much. And there's the bar. You're the bartender for this table. And they would go, what? Oh, I got to tell you another great story.
Ooh,
All right, let's.
I got to be a bouncer at my own restaurant. Now that was neat.
Well, okay. How did that come about? How did that happen?
This man was not happy because, well, I mean, I understand why he wasn't happy. But on the island, they had these gardens that they grow. Everything's natural lighting.